Shall we boogie on to the main topic?
Let's press on.
So I was inspired. We were inspired by the idea. We've been talking about leveling up. And way back when, I think it was last season, we had a episode on high level play or something about why not play the whole game. And I thought I would kind of bend this a little bit. And we're going to take a little play on words. Joseph had it was, how high is too high to play?
Yeah. I had thought it would be funny for us to start out the episode by saying, hey, this is a special episode of Biggest Geekest where we're going to talk about weed. And then, but I totally forgot to do that. So that's because I'm no good.
You seem like you're a little tired today. I'm going to try to get you.
I'm a little tired.
I'm going to get you jazzed though, baby, because we're talking about high level play.
High level is good stuff.
You love that crap. The focus is on D&D. And so what I thought we would do is kind of, these are ideas that I had. They're not fully mine. I've seen them in other places, but I ripped these off real quick. It didn't take me 10 minutes to do this outline. And some of you may see that in actual results. But I think if you're going to play high level, and we're going to talk about differences later on in the editions, but for D&D in particular, you got to prepare to play high level at the beginning. You got to plant the seeds. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
So if you're going to play a game where characters are going to get to, and I guess we should define this. I consider in D&D, I don't consider 8th to 10th level high level. I think that's 8 to about 12 is mid level.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 is when you're trying to get some power. Anything beyond 12 in most versions of D&D, you're at high level. And you can do some, 6 level spells. You can do some plane traveling. You can teleport a couple times a day if you're a wizard. So you got some power, some real high level, some real staying power. And the characters other players do too. So if as a DM, you're going to start a campaign, whether you're going to start at 5th level or 6th level and play higher, or if you're going to say, look, we're going to get through all 20 levels of 3rd edition, right? We're going to play it. So I think early on, you got to, even when the characters are even their low level, let them know there's some really powerful stuff. Even something as simple as like, there is a massively gargantuan ancient green dragon that lives in this old forest. No one's heard about him in years, but no one has ever been able to plunder his horde. And the few adventuring bands that have survived, have a few of them who have survived and come back. They said, yeah, you don't want to mess with this guy. And so you can keep teasing that. And at mid levels, you can have some of his minions work. His name's Arithmax, the green, the great green. People can start talking about you beat the high level orcish barbarian lord. And he's like, yes, we serve Arithmax, the green. And, they get to hear about this. And then when they hit 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th level, eventually the dragon shows his ugly head, right? And when they get mid-level, plant even higher seeds. I mean, like maybe he summons creatures from the outer planes to defend him. He's a magic user too. And so, or maybe he guards a portal to the outer planes. I think the planes themselves kind of deserve a little talking to, but a discussion in this concept. But I think you got to prepare it early so players know there's some big stuff out there, much bigger than your 11th level characters.
Oh yeah, you probably, if it's not already a thing for your group to do, as in play to high level, the DM should be a discussion at some point. How far you guys are going to play? How long is the campaign going to run?
Right.
And as long as the DM, because the DM is the one that has to make everything.
Right.
He's the one that's got to sign off on it going high level.
Oh, for sure. And I think
no matter what, even if the players, doesn't matter how hard the players want to go high level, if the DM's not up for it, it's not happening.
No. And what I'm saying, talking to the GMs that are interested in this, my point here is you gotta prepare for it so that, don't just all of a sudden go over high level now. And there was never anything talking even about dragons existing. Now, all of a sudden there's 4 colossal red dragons bearing down on us because we're all 19th level.
Right.
So yeah, or a discussion of, 4 centuries ago, there was a Githyanki invasion. All the portents are right. It's time for another one.
So the lore of your world needs to support the idea of the levels that you're going to.
Yeah, I'm not saying I got to sit down when you guys are 2nd level and I got to take Arithmax, whatever his name is, and create his lair, decide all his background, tell his 4,000 years of history, build the dragon. He just needs to be. It'd be nice to drop those little seeds and plant them early, so they're not totally sideswiped. Though you can do that too. You can surprise them. Surprise your local lord. The one you've been sending on adventures forever and ever. He's actually not from this world at all. He's from the city of Sigil, and he's been here in exile. And then you can have a political game where you go to the city of doors and things get interesting when you're, if you want to wait till 12th, 11th, 13th level and go do that.
Which is probably a good idea.
Probably it is. I made a comment about understanding characters. I think this, and again, my perspective is a lot from the DM side, but it's also the player side. If you're going to play to 16th level, you better be ready for spells like Maze, where the wizard casts one spell, you make a saving throw. If not, you're trapped kind of in this little world within, that you can't get out of, kind of a mental prison. But you're physically gone, aren't you? With the old maze?
Yes.
Yeah. Or he's going to throw up spells like, Odaluk's Resilient Sphere, and he's going to freeze everything in a certain radius and he's going to do crazy damage. The rogue is going to back attack, and he's going to do as much damage or more than a fighter when he crits. And he's going to be super sneaky, and he's going to have like 98% chance to move silent and hide in shadows. Not much is going to see him.
Right.
So my point is, you got to be prepared for what the players can do. So you got to look at that player's handbook from a DM and know what the players are going to bring at you, at least a little bit. Not that you got to counter everything, but more importantly, I think of this one good piece of advice. I think I mentioned this on Legion of Myth. It was years ago, I think during second edition. I want to give the credit to Tracy Hickman. He said, when you write high-level adventures, don't try to, we used to be pretty classy, get an adventure for high level. You can't teleport in this area. This area has been shut off from teleport. You can't scry in this area. It's been shut off from scry. I think as a DM, I think you're better. You can do that sometimes, make that rare, but I think you should anticipate it and force the players to need to do it. Here's this keep that's in the shape of a silver sphere. How do you get in? There's no entrances, none. What? Yeah. You're going to need to scry to be able to see in there and then teleport. And of course, whoever's created this strange looking spherical keep has got defenses to be ready when you pop in. Maybe he'll have 6 or 8, Labrizu demons to greet you in the room when you show up. So
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, but then then the fighter pulls out his +5 Vorpal, and it's schnicker schnack, and 2 of them are dead. Right. But I mean, that's what you got to anticipate as high level. And then the hallway down the road's got 6 or 8 iron golems that are waiting, and they appear as stone statues. They're actually iron golems, are a powerful illusion. And when the players walk by, they all breathe. I mean, you expect the rogue to be figuring that crap out.
Right.
Magic. So you set challenges. When you start doing this, you set challenges for high level play. This is connected to the next part. I think there's limitations on the rules, though. When we played 3rd edition, and we're going to talk about tonight, dig this setting, we're going to use one of my own settings that Joe played a big chunk of, called 7 Spheres. And when you get to a certain point, at least in 3rd edition, and I think it's well before 20th, if the characters and the players are building their characters with a little bit of power in mind, without even being Monty Hall, standard monster fights aren't much of a challenge.
No, and I can't remember what version was it, 3rd perhaps, where they didn't have. It might have even been 2nd, but 2nd or 3rd, one of the creators of the game, one of the designers, was saying once the characters are like 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th level, nothing in the books are going to be a challenge for them.
I think that was one of the creators of Pathfinder. What was his name? I think he's still there, but he said that the 15th level characters were the highest that any monsters in the bestiary were actually built to challenge players. Meaning if you get, and that's why most of their adventure paths go 1 to 15. That's wasn't uncommon early on when we played, we were there for the first 10 or 15 adventure paths. We didn't play them all, but I collected a lot of them. And they usually went to about 15th level and stopped because the characters were so awesome that there wasn't much for them, which is kind of funny because the game goes to 20
Right.
at a minimum.
Right. And the with characters throwing around effects that can deal up to or maybe multiple hundreds of points of damage, depending on circumstances or crits and whatnot, or a monster. Well, I think you probably they just don't plan enough encounters.
Well,
they plan a set of encounters, and this is sufficient. And then you have your 15th level party going there, and they're like, okay, this was not a challenge at all.
Well, just think about, you know, and there are a lot of creatures that are immune to fire, but first edition wizard, if you're 15th level, your fireball does 15d6 damage.
Right.
And you're casting what? You could cast 3, 4, 5 of those in a day.
Sure.
Not to mention your delayed blast fireball. There's no caps.
Right.
Your magic missiles are boss.
Yeah.
So you got to think about the limitations of the rules. That is, I got monsters in the monster manual. I mean, I remember some of the, in first edition, the dragons were pitiful, like 88 hit points for a great red worm, ancient red worm. But even Asmodeus was like 299, 399 hit points. You know, hold on for a second. Let me grab that. I got my
those first edition monsters had low hit points.
Yeah, and so
at the upper end.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at a red dragon, max 11 hit dice. Their damage is decent. You think a Marilith, they call it a type 5 demon, or a Baylor.
A Baylor, right.
8d8 plus 8 hit points.
Yeah, that's not that much.
No, it's literally.
What was their armor class though?
-2.
Yeah, once you get up into the double-digit levels, that's not a challenge at all.
Dude, Yanagu, the demon lord of Knolls, -5 AC. That's good.
That's hard. Yeah.
100 hit points. Now, here's a kicker, to be fair. Magic resistance. 80%.
Oh boy.
Baylor, 75%. And in first edition, there was no, you didn't get to adjust for your level. In second edition, they made it so if you were above every level above 11th, you drop magic resistance by 5%. But yeah, so that was a balancing factor. Asmodeus, 199 hit points, -7 AC, 4 to 14 damage, 1 attack a round. Of course, I'm ignoring the fact that he has a staff that does all kinds of crazy stuff.
And his completely blown out of the water psionics.
Yes, 366 attack and defense mode. Oh yeah, all of them. He had all attack and defense modes. And homie had 90% magic resistance.
Yeah.
So your wizards were useless. Your clerics were useless. You weren't damaging him with any spells.
No, you would have to cast spells that supported the party.
Yeah,
or hid you in a box somewhere where Asmodeus couldn't see you.
Yeah. Hey, throw yourself inside a blade barrier.
Yeah.
Hemispherical blade barrier. So I guess there was some, but we're talking demon lords and archdevils, and we're only talking 15th level.
Right.
Okay. I mean, your standard, a pit fiend, -3 armor class, 65%. The magic resistance was a helping thing.
Yeah.
That would help. If you kept it that helped make monsters last a little longer in first edition.
Right.
And you had spell resistance in third edition. In second edition, you had magic resistance, but that got dropped. So if you're really going to play really high level, say a 20th level wizard, he's dropping magic resistance by 45%, 5% per level above 11. So even Asmodeus is now at 45%. Now you're talking.
Right.
You might take a shot with your meteor swarm. You might take a shot with your chain lightning.
Especially if you had a backup spell.
Yeah, well, especially you got 3 or 4 other characters. Oh, back in the day, might be talking 6, 8, 9 characters in the group.
Right.
And if they're all 15th level, but you know.
No, Asmodeus would summon every demon or every devil he could, and he would stay in the background and hide and not do anything until, oh, you're almost dead. Well, let me make you all the way dead. Oh, there's your soul's right there. Oh, it's mine now.
True.
If you're fighting him in his home.
But we're absolutely talking about the pinnacle of, and those aren't just monsters. Those
No.
are arch devils.
Right.
Those are in some campaigns now, in some versions of the D&D, Asmodeus was a greater god.
And you're not going to turn the corner and face Asmodeus, even at 15th level. So by the time you reach him in some campaign, you've probably depleted a good amount of your resources already.
And I think if you're playing smart, the Lord of the Nine Hells, he's not turning around the corner and roll initiative. He's not planning to fight you. He may not be planning to fight you.
No.
He may have you run through all this gauntlet and barely alive. And you're like, oh my God, he's going to kill you. I don't want to kill you. We don't have to be enemies, and then play his little game.
Right.
But I mean, what if it's Orcus? Now he's going to want to kill you.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking. So they used to talk about, well, go to the abyss and fight this. I think that's kind of unless you're playing Rule Cyclopedia 30th level dudes. I don't think that's not a good scenario, a good type of, I don't say it's not a good type of play, but it's a once in a campaign style. It might be a campaign ending story.
Yeah, you're not jumping down in the hells or the abyss every day, every time you play as a 15th level character. That's an option.
So you have your characters. So your wizard builds his tower, the cleric builds his church, fighter builds his keep, the rogue has his guild, and they do that for a while. You play political intrigue. Players may get bored. So you do some crazy adventures on the plains, and they're 20th level, and you want to keep playing them. So I think with the rules, sometimes you got to push things. And I thought second edition, especially near the end, in the Planescape box set called Hellbound, they brought this idea of wizard devils and wizard demons. And you basically just add, this is not new now, but it was in second edition, add character levels, wizard character levels to, a pit themed. So now he's a 10th level wizard. Or they had another name for it. What the name was. Instead of making them a wizard, they kind of dabble, and they could change their special abilities. So that instead of their implosion fireball, it's an implosion ice ball. Or instead of implosion, it's Abidazim's horde wilting. They could literally change their natural abilities. So that sort of stuff was just encouraging you to mess with the rules. And I think at higher levels, DM, without screwing the players, you have to mess with the rules.
Sure.
And once characters get past a certain
not only do you have to mess with them, but you really need to know them well.
Yeah, you do. You can't be, we talked about trying to do one shot. We mentioned several times our 20th level Pathfinder, 10th epic level, 10 mythic levels, one shot we played at Cabin Con, and it was fun in quotations, but it just left something to be desired.
Yeah, we just jumped into it without really playing through it.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I could be.
Yeah.
Your 1-2 punch was way too good for anything I had ready. And it wasn't like you guys did anything fantastically crafty. You just shape changed into a dragon and started casting spells.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obvious. Duh.
Why wouldn't the wizard do that if they could?
Yeah. And had I figured some way to counter that, that might have been cool. And you'd have been scrambling to think of something. And if the fighters just came in there full attack, 2,000 damage, and I figured some way to counter that, they might have been scrambling. But I think it was really hard not knowing it. I think high level play is hard to jump into. I think it almost requires a progression.
Right.
But you have to get to know the rules and know when to break them and when to just know how they work. What about limitations of players? And I made a comment, how bad do you want it? Not all players are, and not just not liking it, but if you play like our 7 Spirits we're going to talk about, that was a literal 3-year campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be down for the duration. Unless you're talking about current modern D&D, when you can probably get the 20th level, over a long weekend, maybe. I mean,
I know, but
I mean, you can get high, you can gain levels pretty fast, considering a lot of people like milestones, and as long as you have your butt in the seat, you're going to make your level.
Story levels. So you reach a cool point in the story, a milestone in the story, everybody levels up.
Right. I think if you're going to be down with high level, you need to take your time to get there, so that you understand as a player. I want to take my time. I want to understand my character, the game world, the setting, and the rules too, because the players need to know the rules very well too, because you can't be sitting there and hemming and hawing about what you're getting ready to do. If you're playing high level characters, you need to be a high level player. Right.
That's an interesting point. I'm not sure I put that on there, but that would fit in here. Not all players are high level players.
No,
they won't put the time in. I think it's hard to be a wallflower, but we had a couple in our 7 Spheres game. It's hard to be a wallflower type player. And I'm not blasting wallflower players, but you don't really know what your character can do. And so if it comes to a point where they need you to do something, you can't just be, well, I just stab them with my dagger. I get it as +4 and you're a rogue, but you're not sneak attacking. You're not back attacking. You're not doing much of nothing. You literally just wasted your turn.
Right.
You know, why don't you do something cool with one of the cool magic guns you have, one of the cool abilities you have, move into position for a really sweet sneak attack, use your sash that lets you teleport across the battlefield twice a day, I think players have to know what they're in for, and they got to really want it. I mean, because I think like you and I are talking about, we're going to run through levels 1, 4, 5, maybe I'll play to 7 pretty quickly, maybe. And then definitely 1 through 4, we're going to barrel through that in the Mudsword play test, but we got to slow it down because Mudsword is a constant, and Mudsword is going to be harder to play high level because we're constantly fidgeting with it.
Right.
I got a comment here on understanding the motivations of your PC. I think those you have to be, and not just, I'm not talking from an acting viewpoint, but don't you think we kind of touched on it last time, Volsavar at first level, his motivations, you might have a high-minded goal. I got an 18 intelligence wizard. I want to become the greatest wizard in all the realm. Okay, that's cool. But you're going to have smaller goals along the way. They're going to fit your level.
Right.
I want to find out what the bugbear champion who is control of this big bugbear tribe, what he's got hidden in there, because there was a wizard that went there and his party went a few years ago and they never came back. And this wizard was pretty good. And I want to find out where his spellbook is.
And this is going to speak to some folks that are new to our podcast and give us a lot of praise. The players need to be able to step back from their own potential goals for their characters, if you have any, and be willing to bend your efforts to what the setting and the campaign entail. So instead of being hell bound on being the best dang fire sorcerer ever, you might need to step a couple of steps back and go in a slightly different direction, depending on the how the campaign runs. So Max over at Legion of Myth, he will often cite this comprehend languages, right? Stop having every level played out and not deviating it from it for any reason, even though the campaign would be much better suited if you would just take comprehend languages and be an interpreter on some level. So that's a great point. You can't be so selfish, or you can, the campaign will go a particular way, but it'll go better for everybody if you're not that selfish. I'm kind of an individualist but I also like the group to win because it's better for me.
Yeah. And I think, and also I think it's fun to watch. I think sometimes we talked about, my wife who likes to turn over every rock in every room. It's good to let other people do their thing. I mean, if you guys are, 11th, 12th level and you're focused on being the best fire sorcerer, but the adventures you've been going on is for the paladin to impress his church by completing all these quests and then nobly giving up certain amounts of gold and stuff to the poor people so he can build up the reputation of this poor religion that is really good and has even helped your fire sorcerer. Even at low levels, he was knocked to 0 hit points. A cleric healed him. He was poisoned and a cleric saved his life. And, if you just forget that crap and go, I want to go up, I don't care about that. I want to go to the ancient tower of so-and-so to get the gem of ultimate fire. It's like, okay, I get that you do, but can we complete this? I mean, can you have it? Like, you know what? My character feels a little bit of an obligation to the paladin and his faith.
Right.
Let's help him out. That gem's probably not going anywhere unless the DM's a douche, or if it does, he'll tell me where it went.
Right.
You know, I'll have some way of finding out. So you don't have to lose your motivations, but sometimes you have to delay gratification.
Correct.
But that's the beauty of high level too, though. Everybody can be gratified.
Yeah.
Every character can get at some point his time in the spotlight,
because it's going to be a long campaign.
Yeah.
And you might get multiple chances to get a good spotlight time, or you might be just for the party and just support everybody in there and be the support guy and just do that the whole time. And you could just feel good about supporting, because some people are just like that.
And, you know, my wife she likes playing clerics because they are support characters. Mm-hmm. She wants to protect and heal. She likes paladins, but you could play a rogue who always seems to be, you know, I just saved Joe. I've saved Volsivar 5 times. There was this bugbear when we were going to the bugbear champion's lair. He's, you know, he had a little sneaky bugbear because they're known for being sneaky. He was going to backstab Joe when he had 2 hit points, but I was hiding in shadows and I nailed him first.
Right.
And then one time the paladin was low on hit points, was being poisoned, and I went in there by a snake and I sucked the poison out of his wound. We had that kind of discussion before. So you can be the guy that's kind of even though maybe you were thinking, my guy wants to be a great guild master. Maybe after time, especially doing so many adventures with the church, think about how the adventures that you've done might change your own character's motivations, because they could.
Oh, yeah.
That fire gem's not that important to me. What's important to me is to bring the light of this religion to the world, because we are in a dark, dark world and the evil overlord is bearing down on everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you have to be prepared to change up because it's a long haul.
Yeah.
You can't have things written in stone and expect that to go well over the long haul.
No. And I think the DM too, I mean, you know, and if the DM forgets what your character's goal is, like if he mentions at 3rd level, there's the great gem of fiery power in this tower, and fiery power of the tower. And if he mentions that, but it's guarded by, you know, a dozen wraiths, and you guys are 3rd level, you're not going there initially. But when you get 8th, 9th level, you said, hey, let's go there. Remind him, what about that? Oh, yeah. He goes, my guy really wanted to do that. And the DM needs to have that comment, because I don't know about my other DMs. I'll make stuff up on the fly while you're playing as long-term goals. There's this thing. You can't get it now. The players know they can't get it now. So I can talk it up now. And then I can forget about it if the players don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to remind the DM too, you know.
Sure.
And this, we talked about it a little bit with the character's abilities, but I really want to focus on this next one, the power of magic. I think that's kind of the key at high level. Not just, you know, knowing what your characters can do, what they can do, but how magic can change campaigns. When that wizard gets to 17th level in 1st edition and is casting 9th level spells, he's time stopping, baby. And that's going to win some battles for him.
Oh, yeah.
He might cast wishes that change the setting as you know it. You know, he may have massive changes. He might cast mass domination and change the political sway of some realm.
He could just, and this is a spell that I harp on. Maybe it's a spell that it may be too powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's I can't remember.
Magic jar.
Magic jar.
Yeah.
Magic jar. You can run around, use a magic jar, and just cause all kinds of chaos. You can probably topple a kingdom. Oh,
you could, and even at a mere 9th level, and that's, I think, every edition of D&D, you get magic jars a 5th level spell, and most of the editions it's super powerful. So, and here's the thing. I mean, be ready, DMs. Here's what's going to happen. You can say, well, his body is vulnerable. All right, he's going to talk to his companions. And say, look, I'm going to do this, this, and this. We're going to get into the king's treasury. We're going to get this. And they're like, the fighter's like, I'll guard you. And the rogue's like, I'll guard you. And the cleric's like, sure. He's a god of a neutral, good god of, or neutral. He's a neutral god, a neutral, lawful neutral god of something, or maybe chaotic neutral. Maybe he's the favorite alignment.
Or you're toppling an evil kingdom.
Correct. Even
Yeah.
better. Then
Yeah.
the characters can all be good aligned.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's do it. Yeah, I'm going to dominate his seneschal, who's his best friend. Going to go in there, and I'm just going to do all kinds of crazy. And you will, because especially that's at 9th level. What if your characters decide to do that once they're 15th level?
Right.
So they come back to a small duke, and they're like, we're going to fix your little red wagon now. Because we're bad enough. We could walk in and just destroy you, but that's cold-blooded. We're going to work from the inside out and change everybody's mind about things. And even if they have a good intention, now Magic Jar brings up a lot of, if we're thinking in modern times, you could bring up some real issues about principles and things.
Oh, sure, because you're invading somebody's body,
taking it over,
forcing their spirit out into, it's in the magic jar in the gem. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a violation.
Yeah. And if that duke's a tough fighter, I believe how the rules work, don't you get his fighting ability and your spellcasting ability? No, maybe you don't.
I think you get his hit points. You may not get his fighting ability specifically, but
still, most 9th, 10th, 11th level wizard would be happy to switch with an 8th or 9th level fighter for hit points.
Yeah, just for hit points.
Just for hit points. And then you're still casting spells and you're in armor. Well, you have to get armor, but that's different.
Well,
I think that's,
if planned right, you could cause all kinds of mischief. You may not even need to do anything offensive.
And another piece of advice I would give DMs, if the players surprise you with this in the session, you can take a break and try to figure out a way to, to counter, to make it more challenging for them. I don't say just cheese them and counter everything. I say just play it. And you know what? Give them the win.
Sure.
Let them just completely dominate that session. And then after they do it, think about the consequences, and make sure that you come back. And if they're maybe they have a perfect plan, maybe they totally get it. Good for them. But when they try it again, you're ready now. You've seen how it works. As I had a little comment there, at really high level, he who casts time stop first wins. So you better be ready for that spell, particularly once characters are 17th, 18th level. And, let them win the first or second time they do it. Then maybe there's some counters to that. Put them in an anti-magic zone.
That's what I was thinking.
And do all kinds of stuff. Put them in, send them across the plains, and they're traveling through the realm of the god of time. And he says, only I control time. No one else.
What if there's a magic defense within the Grand Duke's chamber that if time stop is cast, everybody with the caster and everybody within, say, 10 feet or 50 feet, up to 50 feet or something, are all whisked away somewhere?
Oh, and this connects to what we talked about before. If you know the rules, contingencies are a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Just contingency spells. If someone casts time stop, then.
Yeah.
And because if you're talking really high level, if the local king is super rich and maybe he hired a 20th level wizard to protect his domain, especially as an evil overlord, and maybe he hired a neutralish wizard to do all these things. And here comes your 16th, 17th level wizard trying out a sweet little time stop spell. And like you said, oh yeah, you stop time, bam, you're teleported to the 9 hells. A portal opens up and everybody within 5 feet gets sucked into the 9 hells.
Yes.
Have fun dealing with that.
And of course, your time stop goes away because there's a in transit delay of 5 minutes, let's say. That's all it would take.
Yeah, you lost your spell, and now you fell into better yet, fall into a vat of lava.
Sure.
That's where they teleport you to a small island about 10 foot square, where you're all standing in this pit of lava and a bunch of flying demons are all around. So, yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff. Got to think about that kind of stuff. And that leads to the next one too. We talked a little bit about monsters, but you can't have the Tarrasque every time you turn around, but you do have to have some high level foes. And I do think if you're going to use high level foes for really high level characters, I have a hard time envisioning a single Prime World, Standard, Greyhawk, even Forgotten Realms. Though Forgotten Realms tries their best to have everything under the sun in it. I think it's hard for me to imagine you have more than one Tarrasque.
Right, because the Tarrasque is a kaiju, basically. Yeah. And you're just, it's not going to be like in a lot of crazy movies where you have 3, 4, 5, 6 kaijus duking it out with each other, and then some other people trying to get rid of them so they can go back. We can all go back to normal. But
Yeah.
no, the other thing is with the Tarrasque, again, you're not going to turn the corner and there's the Tarrasque. There's going to be
That's weird. That's just
yeah,
weird.
it's going to be an adventure that it's possible that there's the first thing you hear about is some weird thing happening.
Yep.
And it's the Tarrasque waking up and
Mhm.
lumbering around for a while it's groggy. And then at some point it just goes full on Tarrasque.
Or he's flip flopping in his bed underneath the mountain, and his earthquakes, unnatural earthquakes. So there's a group of cultists who are trying to wake him up.
Right. So there could be some kind of words are escaping me.
That's all right.
Anyway,
some sort of hints or clues that something big is happening that gets the attention of your high level. Am I reading your mind?
Yeah, something like that.
It gets the attention of the high level players, characters.
Right.
Now, if you wanted to go gonzo, again, I'm going to keep talking the planes up, whether you use Planescape or not. I mean, I have a book for 5e called, it's one of the supplements is Planet of the Tarrasques. Planet of the Tarrasques.
Oh boy.
So you could send them to another world where maybe there are 24 Tarrasque and they've killed almost everything. And you guys show up. Food. So like 8 of them charge you, for you got 5 or 6 20 plus 24th level characters. I'm not limiting to just 20th level. You could have super high level you want to play. If you want some gonzo fights, there you go.
Once a day when you kill a Tarrasque. You can blah blah blah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if folks get that, but
that's a dig at the mythic rules from
was it? Yeah. We
Pathfinder.
Also and it was a dig at 4th edition. Remember early on we read it, one of the high level powers was once a day when you die.
Right.
It was like, how many times you dying, dude? But I mean,
I die 5 times before breakfast. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So you can't have the Tarrasque every week. You pretty much I think you pretty much have to. I'm trying to envision a world where there's powerful things that happen and exist, but they don't just run roughshod all over the place and mush everything underneath their path. So you can't have that many Tarrasques. So you pretty much have to do some plane hopping, I'm thinking.
Yeah, you could have a ramped up version of the Tomb of Horrors where a Tarrasque himself is sleeping, full blown the Lich and 30th level Arc Lich wizard dude, or 30th level cleric and wizard, 30th level wizard and cleric, and if you want to make it a real challenge. And you can have these really cool spots. And I guess the rest of the time you could have your players, the characters be involved in maybe political machinations. I don't know how fun it would be to play magic item creation. I mean, I imagine a 27th level Volsivar might want to make a magic item or two that gets his name,
Sure.
And that would be fun. And maybe then you got to send him off to quest to do it. But I'm with you. It's hard to imagine Greyhawk having enough stuff on the planet to keep a party of 20 plus level characters active and actively adventuring over and over and over again. And I know there's high level adventures, but
high level adventures don't necessarily have to be constant combat. That would be there would be a lot of, I would think, political maneuvers. There would be a lot of research, and perhaps the adventure, even a session adventure, might on paper or might in game time could take a long time.
Yeah.
You could say, well, we do this. Okay, well, a year passes.
Right.
And this is what happens after that year and blah, 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 blah. And high level campaigns and adventures. It's when you get there, they're going to change the way they should change the way you do things.
Yeah.
I think you can't just, okay, I'm going through that door. I'm picking locks. Roll to 20. What do I get?
Yeah.
No.
You got DC 47 lockpick. You did it. You opened it up, and now you're gonna come to the room, and there's 4 Orcuses. I mean, after a while, dungeons don't make any sense. And I guess to me, you think maybe like they always talk about, the tiers of play. So low level, you're fighting orcs and goblins, and then mid level you ramp up to maybe giant creatures, giants and stuff. And then when you get to 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th level, you're lords of kingdoms. So you do domain play for a few game years, a few sessions, or even maybe a real whole year. You're into the birthright style machinations. But then I think if you want to keep the game going, the players are going to want to know what's going to push me to do something with my 15th level dude or my 22nd level dude. And I think you've mentioned before, I think high level play sometimes might require that it's not constant, that you have to like take breaks, go do something else, your group play a different game or someone else run something else, and just have those dudes on the shelf. And periodically,
I just thought of a great trap. I don't know what level this would be great for.
Okay.
But because we've been talking about doors a few times.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine the door. The thief, even high level, he successfully picks the lock. Good job. Well, you really needed to have the key, because with the key, it would just be a door. But since you picked the lock, the glass steel comes apart, slides it across, and now there's a slime that was contained within that glass steel, and it falls on you. Congratulations.
Right. It's literally, there's the door, it looks like a normal door, but inside, or better yet, it's a black pudding or a brown
something, some kind of slime.
And it looks like a door. Yeah. And so whenever you pick the lock, the door falls apart.
Right.
Slime falls on you. Yeah. There are some creatures that are evergreen. Green. What I mean by that is you can use green slime on any level character.
Yeah.
You can have all the puddings, any level character. What other monsters are truly evergreen? That might be the slimes. That might be it. Feels like demons are too. If you go old school, those magic resistances, those demons were evergreen.
Yeah.
The 12th level character did not like fighting a type 6 demon, neither did an 18th level character, because they had stupid magic resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Now your fighter could probably slice it up.
Right.
But you couldn't do much. But they also were demon summoning at will. Remember that?
Yeah.
Summon all the demons. Yeah, that's crazy.
And the demons that they summoned could summon.
Yeah. Before
there was a
kibosh on that in 3rd edition, didn't they?
Not, I don't think till 3.5. I think 3.0 that, and I could be wrong, but I think it didn't happen until 3.5. Might not even happen until Pathfinder.
So it was demonic summon-o-matic.
Yeah.
If one demon summons one demon, I used to do that to you guys.
Oh, sure.
Summon in 3 demons, one would step back, and in his turn he'd summon. He'd summon 3 more, one would step back and he'd summon. And you guys would be like, run! And I used to think, why don't they just take over the whole world? Summon, 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 summon. It's crazy.
Yeah, you got to wonder.
All right. Anything else you would think is important to talk about with high level play and how to make it really work and sing?
Well,
I do want to talk about differences and additions. And stuff like that.
Apart from that, no,
okay.
I don't think so.
So thinking about all the additions, let's think like if you want to separate. I know original D&D. I think I mentioned this before. Tim Kask, I think, is the one that's quoted as saying they couldn't figure out why someone would want to play beyond 7th or 8th level, because you were a quote unquote a superhero. That was the label of your character.
Yeah. Well, because you had more levels that you
there's always more levels, right?
Yeah. Even if it's not unlimited, though, back then you had more levels. Even BX went to 14. You could just go to 14.
Yeah.
And so many people say, yeah, if you get past 12th, you're God. So what's the point? And I'm like, I never felt that way.
I don't feel very godlike.
No, because we were always getting punked.
Yeah, that's true. See, there's another piece of advice for you GMs. Punk your players. There's always something bigger around a corner. Cheat if you have to. That's what I say.
Well, sure. You wake up and all your stuff is gone.
That's what I'm talking about. Magical high-level thieves, higher than all of you, snuck in and took your stuff. Why? Because you had stuff.
And they could.
And they could.
And so what you did was you went to the local tavern, got drunk, went upstairs, and didn't, because you're dumb.
Right.
And someone took all your stuff.
Yeah.
Or the really cute,
or the classic, the really cute waitress. She gives you the bedroom eyes and you're like, I'm down with that. Cause you're 14, you think that's great. So you do that. And then she ends up being a succubus. I played that game.
Oh, sure.
At one point, you guys would not even contemplate the idea of having a little bedroom fun with the with the waitress. No way. She's a succubus.
All of them. They all are. Kill
They're
all
all
the waitresses.
Kill them all. You guys going to, oh, that's a pretty waitress. We wait for when she gets off work and we cut her head off.
Yeah.
Good job. You just killed a 1 hit point human. Good job.
You are now evil.
You're now
Change
evil.
it on your character sheet.
So change it on your character sheet. So I think 1E and 2E were similar. We kind of pointed out already how magic resistance was different.
I do hear people say that second edition is very different, and I don't remember that. I don't remember it being that way.
We had level caps on. You remember, like
there were some annoyances that I had with it, which was spell level caps, because I was like, "You're going to screw over the wizards now, even more again,
even more, yeah,
even more."
Well, you had to. That was kind of a requirement, I believe. I think Gygax demanded that as D&D went through editions, you had to make sure the wizard got worse, but that's not true. They didn't get worse. They just changed dramatically.
Right.
You would argue they did in
well, in third edition,
fifth edition,
they dialed it down a little bit initially. They might have corrected that later on with things, but they certainly upped the ante for clerics in second edition.
Oh, and then they took it to the next level with we called it Codzilla in third 3.5.
Yeah, third edition turned up the dials on everybody.
Yeah, but the cleric and the wizard were godlike.
Yeah.
I can't really talk to fourth edition. Fifth edition, I still think magic is super powerful, and I think a lot of classes just have tons of magical abilities, which I guess is okay. But part of me misses characters. I kind of like my fighter, my rogue and ranger, even my paladin. Well, that's my paladin, but barbarian. I like them to be a little more mundane in their abilities. Now, granted, they can't be too mundane at 20th level or they can't hang.
Right.
But I don't, I wouldn't mind if the fighter was just rolling with a magic sword and a magic shield and just wasn't like flying on a carpet and rings of teleport and doing all the magic-y things. But he's got to be able to do something to keep up with the wizard, or he feels like he's just an idiot.
Well, in first edition, don't know about second so much because I can't remember how the treasure tables worked in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But in first edition, there were lots of stuff that only the fighter could use.
Yes, magic items.
Most magic, I think, so there was a lot that only the fighter could use.
Yeah.
And
belts, strength and stuff. I think fighters and clerics and thieves in first edition could use it.
I wonder if it was at first edition or second.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah,
but I know, I think that when it came to the miscellaneous objects, maybe the wizard kind of took back their thunder a little bit. There were quite a few, rods, staves, and wands. Well, staves and wands were primarily wizard items. I mean, there were some cleric, but they're mostly wizard.
Yeah, there weren't too many. Yeah, the wizards got a lot of stuff. That's okay. I mean,
sure.
There was I'm trying to find here. I don't know if it was before the staffs, miscellaneous magic. Oh, here we go. Where are the belts of giant strength? What was it called? Girdle. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to.
Yes, he's trying to decide find out whether it was cleric, fighter, thief, or just fighter.
Yeah. It doesn't actually say. This belt imbues, gives the wearer giant. I think second edition, everybody could use it.
Oh, wow.
Like. Yeah.
So it must have been cleric, fighter, thief in first.
Yeah, and I know in OD&D there was a Warhammer. The Warhammer was +3, but only in the hands of a dwarf. Anybody else was +1. It was like the dwarven thrower, I think.
Dwarven thrower, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some. I like the charm of exclusive items.
Sure.
I get you could have a wizard who's got a belt of storm giant strength, but I think Tensor had a belt of stone giant strength, but he was known for Tensor's transformation. Tensor liked the idea. He had 18 strength as a wizard. He wanted to mix it up. So I guess you can do that, but I guess I like the idea of some items, and that could help balance out, and that does kind of throw in Though a monkey wrench in my idea of fighters not being too magical though.
Well, but their magic isn't like their well, unless you get their magic isn't the magic that the fighter has access to is mostly defensive or weaponry.
Yeah.
But there was couldn't they use the
Brilliance.
helm of brilliance?
Yeah.
Basically Fireball City.
Oh yeah, it had all these gems and diamonds, and you could do it had multiple gems of fireballs, multiple gems of I think it was prismatic spray was in there. It was really
But look
powerful.
out if someone knew what it was and they could make it backfire on you.
Yeah, I think they could I think if you got hit by a fireball and it had to make a saving throw and it failed, all the gems below it. I kill you and all your friends, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dude, I tell you what was funny. I tell you what's interesting too. Do you think that I can't speak too well to OD&D, and it's been a while since we played the lower levels, but BECME, I would put BECME in first edition and second edition. Wouldn't you say those games, magic items and high level, kind of made the character?
You mean having magic items at high level?
So if we have four 15th level fighters in first edition D&D, they weren't that different. Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, you can say the stats are a little different, but you probably don't have a 15th level fighter with a 13 strength.
Right.
He's probably pretty BA, 17, 18 percentile something. So 1842, another one has 1810, another one has 17, one has 1896. So that's a little different. But the magic items really made the man. I mean, even though you could argue a 17th level wizard without a single magic item was still someone to be reckoned with.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you probably don't like it. You'd like to be protected by bracers and other things. What about third edition? I know magic items definitely did things for you.
It wasn't that much different as far as that difference goes. Wizards could get away with fewer magic items.
Yes.
Especially at high level when armor class didn't matter a whole lot anyway.
The build game was so big. Couldn't you build like a 2-weapon fighter dude versus a great sword wielder if they had even similar magic items? You could definitely see a difference between them.
I think so. Well, great sword wielding was
superior,
fairly superior to 2-weapon fighting, in my opinion. I mean, there's folks that'll say 2 weapons, you get 2 weapons, 2 chances to hit, you'll do more damage. You usually miss with your offhand attacks, especially when you first start out in that.
Yes, the penalty like -4, -2, or what it was.
Penalties are pretty heavy, and you don't have a whole lot of stuff that will counter that. I mean, you can. I can't remember specifically, but starting out just a great sword wielder, it's all bonuses. There's no penalties that you have to counteract, and no feats that you have to take. You can just roll
if you use
out
power attack. If you use power attack, you would lose points.
Right. I'm just saying you don't need
great trade,
to just wield your sword.
Right.
And the power attack notwithstanding.
Right.
I mean, you're doing more damage because you're doing strength and a half.
Yes.
So, with the dual weapon wielder, you get half your strength on your other attack. So if you hit with both, you get an extra die of damage. But great swords usually are 2d6, and if you're using 2 weapons, it's usually a d8 and a d4. So
first edition, early second, it was the reverse, wasn't it? Wasn't the 2-weapon guy more superior with all the attacks?
I think so, because you didn't have the strength and a half.
Nope.
You just had strength.
Right.
And most people didn't have, 18 percentile or higher. So you're usually only getting +1 or 2 with your strength anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you got to real high level, you could do, if you got a 2-weapon wielder with the belt of storm giant strength, and he's hasted, and he's specialized,
or double specialized, yeah,
or double specialized. You're doing or whatever mastery it with BECME. You're Ginsu, man. You are just shredding people,
right?
Yeah. So there definitely were some differences, and a lot of it's had to do with the design of the game. I think. I guess I've always wanted. On a side note, I've always wished fighters could be somehow relatively balanced. Maybe that's not a thing. Maybe some styles of fighting should be better than others. I don't know. Maybe.
I've thought about that too. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
game though. In
Yeah.
real life, if you got somebody armored up, you have two people armored up, you want a big sword, you want a big weapon. You don't want a small dagger.
No.
You really don't.
No.
I mean, you might be able to find the chink in their armor, but by the time you've found that chink, the other person's already beat you to death. Even if he hasn't necessarily penetrated, he's beat you to death.
Yeah, and if he has any kind of, if he's moderately skilled, even if you're a great dagger dude, you're like awesome, but he's pretty good fighter. He's got reach on you, but we're going down a different rabbit hole. What about other games? And I listed particular, just one off the top of my head: Savage Worlds, 13th Age, Warhammer, or we could even talk about more, less D&D type games, high level play in something like, I don't know, Shadowrun, which that's magic-y. How about something like Rifts? Well, that's crazy from the get-go. Or something like Aliens.
I really don't. Yeah, I don't have that much experience playing high level in other systems.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't.
We did experience on your birthday game where I think you guys played 10th level 13th Age games. Now 13th, a big credit, we've been kind of dogging 13th Age. One of its bonus advantages is high level play is pretty much as smooth as low level play.
Yeah.
There isn't that sticky wicket that people say D&D becomes unplayable after 12th level or after 10th level. And you can make some arguments that it's more challenging. It just depends on how dedicated you are and how much you like wild, crazy stuff. You could say, right. I don't like the idea of traveling to the plains. I don't like the idea of fighting Tarrasque and flying around like a superhero. I get it. But if you do, the game could still be considered it's very challenging. Yeah. Whereas 13th Age, that's something where if I said, I know guys that know 13th Age just barely, like Cabin Con, and if I said I'm running a one shot for 10th level characters, I'd have no issue bringing in 5 or 6 10th level 13th Age characters. It'd be a little slower, but it wouldn't be all that hard to play.
No.
13th Age is really nice like that.
It's very predictable.
Very predictable.
But
Savage World, similarly.
Yeah, being able to just throw down, very easy. It's very attractive to a lot of people.
Folks that are out there, then, if you played Warhammer a lot, I don't know how. I think Warhammer originally first edition was based on percentiles. What happens when you get 100+% to attack? I mean, do you become just unbelievably unstoppable? I don't know how that game works. Or people that have played Shadowrun, which I've played like twice in my life, 2 sessions. I'm not sure that would work. I know Savage Worlds and 13th Age are both very manageable because there's just not the 13th Age does these kind of big chunks of power, but everything jumps with you.
Yeah.
It's a challenge rating, and they probably do the best version of challenge ratings, even though I think they're too kind to the players, but they give them too many, it's all weighted for them to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, but Savage Worlds, not so much. That's very swingy. You got that toughness number and then your armor. And if someone penetrates your armor and they roll good damage, a lowly goblin can annihilate your legendary paladin in one shot. It can happen.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. That swinginess is there. Any other games? Like, I don't know, Rift seems like it's high level from the get-go.
Yeah, you start out pretty competent at your job, I believe, and then your adventuring job, and the leveling up is much flatter, I think, than in any of the D&D games.
Yeah, and I guess it probably depends. It'd be interesting those that have played more of the standard Rifts rules versus we played. I'm pretty fond of Savage Worlds Rifts, and it's like a high-powered version of Savage Worlds, but it's still pretty manageable. I think it's just pretty high-powered.
Yeah, we've gotten high level in high-ish. I don't know that have we played Legendary? I don't think so.
Highest you got was when we ran Necessary Evil. You guys got to heroic tier,
right?
Which was one step from Legendary,
right? Which was pretty boss.
Oh, so, you guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it took us a while to get there.
Oh, we played solidly every other week through most of us through a summer and probably a good chunk of the fall. And I probably leveled you a little fast, but we wanted to get to the adventure. And
Savage Worlds is a faster game, though.
It is a faster game. We played pretty hard. We played We didn't play 4-hour sessions. We were playing closer to 6 every time.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty fun. It was a good thing. Do you I know you like high level playing D&D for sure. And you and I have a lot of experience playing high level. I mean, I'm comfortable. I don't care what version of D&D. I don't feel any need to cap my campaigns. I'm ready for you guys to be 18th level, 27th level. We can play it. But what about other games? Do you think you'd enjoy other games even more at high levels? Are there any games you can think of where you're like, I don't think I want to play high level?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
I would like to, if the game has different levels or tiers or whatever that game might call it, I'd like to explore that game to its limits and then decide, because you're not going to know until you've played it. That's why I think with D&D, I'm very comfortable playing high level.
Yeah, we
played it enough to where we know we're comfortable with it and we like it. It might find through playing, say, Warhammer, fantasy version, not the 40K.
Right.
You might get to a point where you're like, the higher end of this game isn't so fun, or some other games, Legend of the Five Rings, maybe, or whatever, what have you. But you need to play it to be able to make that determination. And I haven't played that many at high level. I've played lots of games in an introductory fashion, but few to any sustained amount.
I would ask folks that listen to us if there's some questions I'd love to hear people comment on. What do you think of high level play? What games have you played to high level? And do you have some games? And for a lot of folks, it might be D&D. Are there some games where just high level, certain levels just get no fun for you? It'd be interesting to hear what those are for people. I know Joe and I D&D are like, let's just do it. Let's go from the beginning to the end, and the end is when we put the dice down.
Right.
So, yeah.
And we don't necessarily feel limited to just games with levels. So
no.
if you have games where you just continue to improve over time and you add skills or whatever, if you play the characters a long time and they get really good at their game, that's kind of like high level. But a lot of games may not, even though you're really good, it may not be high powered. So what we're talking about is high powered.
Yeah. Right.
Lots of magic,
lots of cool abilities, psionic powers, crazy,
plane traveling, lots of big monsters, powerful monsters.
Yeah. I guess one thing we didn't touch on at all, but I think that's probably outside of the purview of what we usually do, is big massive battles. That's a thing you could be a part of in a high level game.
Oh, sure.
Not even too high level, actually, probably 8th or 9th level, or if you want to be a foot soldier, 3rd, 4th level.
Right, because 8th, 9th level, maybe you're getting your domain, your fortress, your tower, your guild, however you do that. And at some point you might get into mass combat and political intrigue at the same time. That would be fun.
Religious wars, religious systems that turn violent. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about playing at high level there? The things you need to consider?
I recommend it to everyone. Play high level.
Everybody, including me. He recommends that I run high level for him.
Especially him.
All right.